evening. Two key decisions were taken today by the centre, one to support children who lost their parents due to COVID-19 and another to help families who have lost the earning member due to COVID. We will share with you the details of both the schemes launched today. Also on the show, the takeaways from External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's visit to India that focused on tackling COVID and India-US strategic ties. All that and more in this edition of Newsnight. I'm Manmohan Bhattacharya. First up, the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches PM Cares for Children scheme to support children who have lost their parents due to COVID-19. Free education to be ensured for children who lost their parents to COVID. PM Cares to contribute through a specially designed scheme to create a corpus of 10 lakh rupees for each child when he or she reaches 18 years of age. Prime Minister says it is our duty as a society to care for our children and instill hope for a bright future. Government announces further assistance to help families who lost the earning member due to COVID. Family pension to be given to dependents of those who lost their lives due to COVID under Employees State Insurance Corporation. Prime Minister says that his government stands in solidarity with such families. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says he discussed the issue of surplus COVID-19 vaccine supplies to India with the Biden administration during his visit to India. Says US has to take a decision on it. Terms Quad as an expression of convergence of interests of many countries and a reflection of contemporary nature of world order. Active cases of COVID-19 continue to decline in India. Less than 2 lakh daily new cases registered since the last 2 days. Daily recoveries continue to outnumber daily new cases for the 16th consecutive day. Recovery rate further increases to 90.8%. Remdesivir production in India ramped up 10 times with the antiviral drug available in adequate numbers in India. Government decides to discontinue central allocation of Remdesivir. Government to procure 50 lakh vials of Remdesivir to maintain a strategic stock for emergency requirement. Centre says it has provided over 22.77 crore vaccine doses to states and union territories so far. Some states consider relaxing COVID-related restrictions with active cases declining in India. In national capital Delhi, daily new cases fall below 1,000 in 24 hours. Restrictions extended till 7th June in Goa and 9th June in Kerala. India and the US strengthen efforts to combat second wave in India. US to send critical vaccine manufacturing supplies to India, which will allow India to make over 20 million additional doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to share his views in the 77th edition of Mann Ki Baat on All India Radio. On Sunday, entire network of AIR and Doordarshan to broadcast Mann Ki Baat program at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And remaining IPL matches to be organized in September-October period in UAE, decision taken at a virtual meeting of BCCI. The tournament was suspended midway in April due to rise in coronavirus cases in India. Our lead story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired an important meeting to discuss and deliberate on steps which can be taken to support children who have lost their parents due to COVID-19. Prime Minister announced a number of benefits to children impacted by the current pandemic. While announcing these measures, the Prime Minister emphasized that children represent the future of the country and the country will do everything possible to support and protect the children so that they develop as strong citizens and have a bright future. The PM said that in such trying times, it is our duty as a society to care for our children and instill hope for a bright future. All children who have lost both parents or surviving parent or legal guardian or adoptive parents due to COVID-19 will be supported under PM Cares for Children scheme. He also added that the measures being announced have only been made possible due to the generous contributions to the PM Cares Fund, which will support India's fight against COVID-19. So some details now. A fixed deposit in the name of the child will be opened. PM CARES will contribute through a specially designed scheme to create a corpus of rupees 10 lakh for each child when he or she reaches 18 years of age. This corpus will be used to give a monthly financial support or stipend from 18 years of age for the next 5 years through the period of higher education. On reaching the age of 23 years, he or she will get the corpus amount as one lump sum for personal and professional use. Children under 10 years will be given admission in the nearest Kendriya Vidyalaya or in a private school as a day scholar. If the child is admitted in a private school, the fees as per the RTE norms will be given from the PM CARES. PM CARES will also pay for expenditure on uniform, textbooks and notebooks. Let's move to the other category of children between 11 to 18 years. They will be given admission in any central government residential school as a Sainik school or Navodaya Vidyalaya, etc. In case the child remains under the care of a guardian or grandparents or extended family, then he or she will be given admission in the nearest Kendriya Vidyalaya or in a private school as a day scholar. If the child is admitted in a private school, the fees as per the RTE norms will be given from the PM CARES. PM CARES will also pay for expenditure on uniform, textbooks and notebooks. In order to support higher education, assistance will be given for education loans in India. The interest on this loan will be paid by the PM CARES. As an alternative, scholarships equivalent to the tuition fees or course fees will be provided under central or state government schemes. For children who are not eligible under the existing scholarship schemes, PM CARES will provide an equivalent scholarship. All children will also be enrolled as a beneficiary under Ayushman Bharat scheme with a health insurance of 5 lakh rupees. The premium amount for these children till the age of 18 years will be paid by PM CARES. And in addition to the measures announced under PM CARES for children empowerment of COVID-affected children, Government of India has announced further measures to help families who have lost the earning member due to COVID. They will provide pension to families of those who died due to COVID and an enhanced and liberalized insurance compensation. PM said that his government stands in solidarity with their families. He also said that through these schemes, efforts are being made to mitigate financial difficulties that may be faced by them. To help family live a life of dignity and maintain a good standard of living, benefit of ESIC pension scheme for employment-related death cases is being extended to even those who have died due to COVID. Dependent family members of such persons will be entitled to the benefit of pension, equivalent to 90% of average daily wage drawn by the worker as per the existing norms. This benefit will be available retrospectively with effect from 24th March 2020 and for all such cases till 24th March 2022. Insurance benefits under the EDLI scheme have been enhanced and liberalized. The provision of minimum insurance benefit of 2.5 lakh has been restored and it will apply retrospectively, that is from a back date from 15th February 2020 for the next 3 years. To benefit families of contractual or casual workers, the condition of continuous employment in only one establishment has been liberalized, with benefit being made available to families of even those employees who may have changed jobs in the last 12 months preceding his death. Our correspondent Arun Sharma is joining us with more details. So Arun, two major schemes being announced by the centre. One for those children who've lost their parents or their guardians or adoptive parents, and another one for those families who've lost an earning member due to COVID. Give us some key details of these schemes.
Absolutely, Munmun. Now, we know this fact that all those children who have lost their parents, that thing can't be returned to them. And my heart really goes out for such children who have lost their parents. But yes, government is trying to ensure that their future can be ensured, the future can be secured. And in that context, government has come out with initiative whereby PM CARES Fund is going to play a significant role. Number one, a 10 lakh rupees of corpus will be created for children, all those who have lost their parents, and they can utilize it by the age of 23. From 18 till 23 years of age, they'll be getting stipend. So yes, government will ensure that by the age of 18, they have a corpus from which they'll be getting a stipend and a lump sum amount by the age of 23. That means their future, their higher education part, and of course, till the time they become a self-reliant, their future will be secured as far as personal finance aspect is concerned, or as far as financial aspect is concerned. Now, government over here, primarily Prime Minister Narendra Modi has, taken this a significant step for all the students for the education aspect. They'll be getting free education either in the Kendriya Vidyalayas, or if in case they're getting admission in private school, and the fees will be paid from the PM CARES Fund. So this is really, a revolutionary step by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to ensure that education, the future of such children can be ensured and that can be secured. So that's an important aspect. We should not forget about the health insurance aspect as well. Till the age of 18, these children who have lost their parents, they'll be getting a health insurance or a health cover of 5 lakh rupees each. And of course, the premium of this health insurance under the Ayushman Bharat Yojana will be paid by this PM CARES Fund. Another important aspect is that if in case a child who has lost his parents, unfortunately, because of COVID crisis, and if he wants to go for higher education part, and if he wants to take a loan, that means the education loan, if he wants to take, he or she wants to take, the interest rate, because initially, as far as education loan is concerned, initially we have to pay the interest. And whenever the placement happens or a child gets his job, afterwards a loan repayment takes place. So now what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ensured that the education loan will be provided to such children who wants to go for a higher education part, and the interest, complete interest, will be paid by the PM CARES Fund. So that's an important aspect. So this is something as far as the children who unfortunately have lost their parents due to COVID-19, these steps have been ensured. Second important aspect or subset of this initiative is about the pension scheme. So the employees under the ESIC, that means the ESIC scheme, they were registered. So if in case the people, the employees who have lost their life, their family members will be getting pension up to an extent of 90% of their average wage that they were earning till now. Now, government has given this taken this initiative, primarily Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken this big step from retrospective aspect. That means from March 2020, any employee who has lost his life and their dependent, their family members will be getting pension up to 90% of his or her the average daily value. The insurance aspect is also very much important, because till now it was only 6 lakh rupees of insurance cover that was being given to the beneficiary or the dependent of the person who lost his life. But that has been increased from 6 lakh rupees to 7 lakh rupees. And the minimum insurance that the beneficiary can take, that means the person who has lost his life, their family members can take, that has been increased or restored to 2.5 lakh rupees. That means a minimum of 2.5 lakh rupees of insurance will be given to the family members who have lost the member who was under ESIC, and up to 7 lakh rupees this insurance can be taken, depending upon the various working days or the daily wages, or of course on various rank of that particular employee. So yes, two important decisions: one as far as personal finance and securing the future of children, and number two, securing the family, whereby the main earning member who was working or primarily who has lost his life, so their family members will be getting, of course, the benefit under this ESIC initiative, whereby pension, family pension will be given. So yes, it's indeed an important aspect. In present, whosoever has been lost in this battle against COVID-19, that we can't bring. Nobody can bring, and it's very unfortunate event. But yes, government is ensuring that their future can be secured, and that's the need of the hour. And this is really a revolutionary step as far as children, particularly who have lost their parents, unfortunately, in this COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely. In fact, right now, Swarupama Chaturvedi is joining us. She is Additional Advocate General MP, Standing Counsel for Election Commission of India in the Supreme Court. Well, ma'am, welcome to Doordarshan. Your thoughts on the two key schemes that have been announced by the centre. Let's begin with the scheme that has been announced that takes care of those children who've lost both their parents or the only surviving parent or adoptive parents to COVID-19. Do you think that the centre has taken upon itself a substantial burden for education as well as health care of such children?
Yes, definitely. It was very necessary step, and we must welcome this that the center has come forward and taken this step, because this was really necessary considering the fact that the kind of death we have seen in recent times. And even if a parent is lost, it's not only the loss for the kid in terms of losing the parent. It's really significant loss for the person who is don't he's not aware or she's not aware that their education, food and everything, and this policy, the way it has come up, and at the time it has come up, we must appreciate the center has really taken a big burden.
Right. Also, Ms. Chaturvedi, if when we look at the scheme that has been announced for children who've been affected by COVID-19 in a manner that they've lost their parents, then there is a lot of detailing that has gone into it, because there is a fixed deposit scheme in the name of the child. A corpus of 10 lakh rupees for each child is being formed and will be given to the child. Also, there is specific provision that has been made for school education for children under 10 years, for school education for children between 11 and 18 years, as well as support for higher education. So would you say that every important vertical has been taken care of?
Yes, so that is what I was telling. When a child who's losing the parent at this stage, one loss is definitely losing a family. But when one loses the family, that can never be substituted. But we have to enable a society to enable that person to live the life with dignity. And that is where the government has not come up with the policy only to take the responsibility, the well thought policy, which is the moment a child leaves the parents at home front, the child is completely deprived. But at the same time, if they have to leave their school as well, so half of society for and half is their own circle. And so it's not only education which is necessary, at the same time support from group and education is also important. So if they can continue the school, at least that one step, and the way corpus is created, because need for the children education, because at the time, if it depending that at what age the child has lost the parent, if it is basic education stage or primary. But at the same time, when it comes to higher education, of course need is different for the child. So the policy is not only a policy to take the responsibility of the children, the policy is a well thought policy to take care of the child who will be in need, and whatever stays in the kind of need, that is something we have to appreciate, that it is not only a policy just to support the children, it is a policy to support in whatever way child would require and come back to the normal life.
Absolutely. And in the other key scheme that has been announced, measures have been announced for families who've lost their earning member due to COVID. You would appreciate the fact that just like children who've lost their parents and support to COVID-19, there is also a set of families who've lost their earning member and thus were in financial distress. So do you think a scheme like this, under which family pension would be given to dependents and insurance benefits would be enhanced, would help mitigate financial difficulties of such families?
Yes, I would bring your attention to the NCR's SOP which they have issued, NCPCR's SOP which they have issued some time back. They have clearly declared that in either of the parent, a child who has lost either of the parent is a child in need for protection and care. And NCPCR came up with this scheme few weeks ago rather. And afterwards, the need, because, you know, if we say that they lost father or mother, it would be definitely a gender bias. There are families where wife is in better stable job and husband was in business, but COVID has affected everything. So coming up with the idea that a child who has lost either of the parent would definitely take care of the situation irrespective of mother is lost or father is lost. We know for proper development both are required, but here we are talking about the economic dependence, economic aspect, which is a major aspect irrespective of the whatever emotional loss one will feel lifetime. So this policy is definitely something which is which will enable the person who has lost a breadwinner. So, you know, it's not only about maintaining their life, the way education and other aspects are getting taken care is something which is very nice.
Absolutely.
And we must welcome.
Yes. So I was also asking you about the other scheme that the government has announced that will provide the financial support to those families who've lost their earning member, because there is a decision that has been taken that pension would be given to dependents of such family, and enhanced insurance amount would also be given to them.
Yes, even I was watching some portals which were coming up that many state governments are also coming with different schemes. See, when we think about accumulated as society and children interest, every such society is definitely welcome, and I'm hopeful that every state is slowly going to come up with some policy. So the central policy, if it is again in addition to all those local support as well, is something definitely which is going to help, because insurance and immediate care would be definitely a big support for them. Under Disaster Management Act, of course, we have a different kind of possibilities where insurance and whosoever has got died because of COVID, all those facilities were there. But at the same time, having in addition these policies are definitely a welcome step.
Absolutely. In fact, there is a relaxation that has been made in case of contractual or casual workers. There was a condition of continuous employment in only one establishment, and that has been liberalized, with the benefit now being made available to those families of even those employees who may have changed jobs in the last 12 months preceding the death. So there again, there's a liberalization in terms of employment for contractual or casual workers. So very accommodative, would you say?
Yes, it is. And I must tell you, the pandemic, we are all waiting for pandemic to go, and we are expecting that, yes, we will have the normal life. Pandemic is definitely going. And especially for people who have suffered something in their family, bread or even normal people, so it is going to be definitely very difficult, and these kind of policies are surely going to support and accommodate, because in India, not everybody is in the government employment, but these policies which are coming, sector specific policies, are definitely one thing which is specific and which is going to support everywhere whosoever is working. But the policies which are coming up to address the need of those people irrespective of job, irrespective of what sector they were working. So private people in private employment is surely, this is one extension of the facility which already was available to government employees in different form. But in addition to these, this is for orphan kids or for either loss of parents, these things are all in additional. So I think central government is doing every bit to assure that whatever society is suffering or suffered, at least we can reduce that timeline within which they could come back to the normal circumstances. So the impact will be there, but restoration process, how smoothly the restoration process can fasten, is definitely something which is welcome.
Absolutely. Well, our hearts go out to families who have been impacted by COVID-19 and children who've lost their support in terms of parents and guardians because of this. These two schemes that have been announced by the government should go a long way in providing financial support. Well, thank you, Surupma, for having joined us on Newsnight. Let's move on to the other focus of Newsnight. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, on a visit to the US, has said in a media interaction that he discussed the issue of surplus COVID-19 vaccine supplies to India with the Biden administration, and that US has now to take a decision on it. Speaking on Quad, he said it is an expression of convergence of interests of many countries and a reflection of contemporary nature of world order. During the visit, Indo-Pacific and Afghanistan's future were also discussed.
In a bid to fight a united fight against the COVID-19 and in turn giving boost to vaccine cooperation, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had an in-person meeting on Friday with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. The external minister, who incidentally became the first Indian cabinet minister to visit the US under Biden administration, said that the endeavor is to expand production of vaccines in India with the assistance of the US.
There are ongoing conversations on the regulatory side, on the legal side, on the commercial side, and on the supply chain side. Okay. These are going on between the companies concerned and the entities, the authorized people in India. In many cases, the embassy, the ambassador personally, many of his colleagues have also been, dealing with the companies.
Both ministers discussed broad range of issues including COVID-19 relief, Indo-US vaccine partnership and efforts to strengthen Indo-Pacific cooperation through the Quad partnership along with shared commitment to combat climate crisis. Other discussions also included on joint efforts to address a range of regional issues such as China, Myanmar and Afghanistan. Discussions were also held on UNSC matters and other international organizations.
When you talk about the future of Afghanistan, India is an important part of that conversation. Just as when we look at Afghanistan, clearly, given the American presence over many years, it is something that we would be discussing. So there were discussions on what could happen, what should not happen.
United States has so far redirected critical supplies to India that will help the country manufacture 20 million additional doses of AstraZeneca's Covishield. This came in the backdrop of the US having provided over $500 million in COVID-19 assistance to India. Blinken said in the early days of COVID-19, India was there for US and now America will stand with India.
We have a lot of issues to discuss. I think our relations have grown stronger over the years and I'm very confident they'll continue to do so. But I also want to take the opportunity to express to the Secretary and through him to the administration, to the United States for the strong support and solidarity at a moment of great difficulty for us. So as he said, we have plenty to talk about, but I thought that's something I should express.
The United States and India are working together on so many of the most important challenges of our time and ones that are having a profound impact on the lives of our citizens. We're united in confronting COVID-19 together. We're united in dealing with the challenge posed by climate change, and we are partnered together directly through the Quad and other institutions of the United Nations in dealing with many of the challenges that we face in the region and around the world. The partnership between the United States and India is vital, it's strong.
During his visit, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met several senior U.S. administration officials, including Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai, Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines, and other top American lawmakers in Washington, D.C. These meetings demonstrate both nations' deep commitment to the partnership and to further strengthen it in the years to come. Bureau Report, DT India.
And now to discuss the takeaways from the visit of External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to the US, we are being joined by Meera Shankar, former Indian ambassador to the US, and Professor Harsh Pant, a distinguished fellow ORF. I welcome you both to Newsnight. I'll begin with you, Ms. Shankar. It was expected that since the visit of the External Affairs Minister is taking place amid the pandemic, the focus would be on COVID diplomacy. How do you assess cooperation between India and US on that front?
Well, I think, the US has responded positively to India's requests for assistance, and around $500 million worth of assistance by way of medical relief, ventilators, oxygen concentrators, masks, etc. has come. $100 million from the US government and the rest from US businesses and US civil society, including the NRI community there. So it's been quite a major effort. The US has also responded positively to lifting the restrictions on export of key raw materials which are required for making vaccines in India, and has also responded positively to the request that India and South Africa had made at the WTO for waiver of intellectual property rights temporarily to enable other countries, particularly developing countries, to produce vaccines. Of course, this issue is still under discussion at the WTO, but on the way forward. But it's for the first time that the US has really responded so positively on a request to waive IPR of their companies. So overall, the response has been positive. But I think for India, it's also important to be able to, I think two things as far as the pandemic is concerned, to be able to get some vaccines at short notice for import. And here I think we have actually requested that the US release some of the AstraZeneca vaccines that they have stored and which they are not using themselves.
Yes.
So I don't really know what the status is on that request, or whether this 20 million doses of vaccine refers to this.
Right. Can I comment on that? Yeah.
The other is, whether we will be able to import vaccines at short notice from Pfizer, Moderna. Again, Moderna, I think, doesn't really have production capability right now. Their order books are full. Pfizer has some slack, and they might be able to supply, but there are complex issues being discussed, including liability, because they want the government of India to waive liability. And if a court case is filed by any Indian citizen for laxness on the part of the pharma company, then the court gives a favorable judgment, then they want the government of India to bear that liability. So these are rather complex issues, and I'm sure they would be under discussion.
Absolutely. Well, as far as the surplus stockpile of vaccines of AstraZeneca with US is concerned, that decision is yet to be taken. That's what External Affairs Minister said. As far as the other 20 million doses of AstraZeneca is concerned, those are to be manufactured in India with help from supplies that the US will be sending to India. So having set the record straight on that, Mr. Pant, your thoughts on whether this cooperation under the context of vaccines, drugs, etc. is going to only go further from here on?
Well, it looks like that at the moment because clearly the two countries are on the same page on a number of issues, including the one that Ambassador just mentioned about the intellectual property waiver, which is being supported by the US at the moment. I mean, it's not as if it's going to happen very soon, but I think the fact that on multilateral issues, on issues of global governance, we see India and America working together, which is quite a significant development in and of itself. So what we are looking at is that vaccine issue, the issue of how to manage this present second wave, is being dealt with both at the bilateral level as well as at a multilateral level, where clearly the questions are about not simply what India can do, or what India and America can do together, what India and America can do also together for the larger region and for the larger world, I think. And so these questions have become important and interesting in the context of India's own diplomatic engagement worldwide and India's engagement with the US. And some elements of that we saw during this visit as well, where the discussions were wide-ranging. Clearly the focus of the visit for many in India was on vaccines, but vaccine issue and the issue of COVID-19 has become emblematic of a larger tapestry of issues on which now India and the US are converging. So whenever you're looking at the vaccine issue today, you are looking at not simply America supplying raw materials, America supplying perhaps some extra doses of AstraZeneca lying with them, but also ensuring the restructuring of supply chains on a short notice, also ensuring that India and the US work together, not only to supply vaccines, insofar as bilateral engagement, but also at the regional level, something that Quad had underscored earlier. And now India's neighbors also looking at US engagement with them, perhaps via India. So I think a lot is on the table at the moment and it will be interesting to see how this develops. But clearly, this visit has been successful in conveying the commitment of both sides, that both sides are willing to fight it out together.
Right. Shankar, do you agree with Dr. Jaishankar's views that the Quad has filled a gap that has emerged in contemporary times, which can't be filled by a single country or by a relationship between two countries, that is a bilateral partnership, or even in multilateral settings, and that is a reflection of contemporary nature of world order?
Yes, I think the Quad is emerging as a, key structure for security in Asia, and it includes both regional players and a global player, the US. So it includes countries like Japan, Australia, and India in Asia, and it includes the global superpower, the US. These four countries, some are allies of the United States. They are part of the US alliance systems. And then there's a country like India, which is a strategic partner of the US, though not an ally. And all these countries have concerns about China's increasingly assertive behavior in Asia, including very aggressive moves towards its neighbors, both in the East and South China Sea, and of course on our border, on the border between India and China. So there are common concerns. They also have concerns regarding, de-risking global supplies. And that was one of the key issues discussed at the Quad meeting. And I suppose this is one of the other areas where the US and India and the Quad will need to work quite closely to ensure that we don't become too dependent on any particular country for critical raw materials or for supplies of medicines or masks or ventilators or other crucial equipment, as we saw during the first phase of the pandemic. So I think this is another area looking to the long term where India and the United States and the Quad will need to work together, and they have agreed to do so. Climate change is another, maritime safety is another area where they have had discussions, and of course counterterrorism. These are all areas of common concern in this region, on which the Quad can play a very important role. The key role, of course, is to somehow create a more sustainable balance in Asia, which would not be under the domination of any one country.
A two-part question to you, Professor Pant. One, is Quad not only here to stay, but do you see its architecture solidifying in the coming years? Having said that, on the issue of Afghanistan, are these legitimate concerns that the EAM voiced in the US, which is a concern that will be shared by the United States as well, and people in Afghanistan too, that the rights of minorities, of children, of women should be preserved, democracy should be preserved, and whatever progress Afghanistan has made in the last 20 years should also be preserved when it charts its own future?
Well, both these issues are quite critical, I think, for the region as well as for US-India bilateral relations. And therefore, you see them acquiring a greater salience today. When you talk of Quad, I think the trajectory of Quad in the last just 3 years has been quite impressive. Just 3 years back, states were laughing off Quad as something superficial, that as a platform that perhaps will never emerge as a credible platform. But look what has happened in the last 3 years, a dramatic evolution, a seriousness of purpose. And here we are within 2 months in office, Biden administration called a leaders level summit where a wide-ranging agenda has been presented, and India and the US both are engaged via Quad on a number of issues, some of which Ambassador just highlighted. So I think the positioning of Quad as a singularly important platform in the evolving geopolitical and geoeconomic realities in the Indo-Pacific is one of the defining, I think, moments in the strategic sphere, and that cannot be underestimated. Its impact cannot be underestimated. So I think Quad is being used now and will be used going forward by all the 4 countries in making sure that a stable balance of power is preserved, that an alternative is given to the regional players insofar as the China's domination of the geoeconomic space is concerned, as well as the connectivity and infrastructure issues that are there. And we are seeing some of that even in the vaccine issue. On the issue of Afghanistan, of course, we know that there have been some differences in the positioning of America and India in the past. But the fact that Biden administration has started on a positive note by bringing India formally into the peace process, I think that's a very significant statement about India's importance to the regional calculus, about India's importance to what perhaps happens in Afghanistan, and about India's importance in shaping Afghanistan's future. So both India and the US recognize the challenge that will be there in regional security once American troops depart and are completely gone by September 11th, 2021, which is the date that has been set for it. And I think, therefore, there is a recognition that India as a major regional player has an important role to play. How that manifests itself, for all the contradictions that are there at the moment as Taliban widens its reach, Taliban becomes more potent, how we are going to ensure that those like-minded players who want the issues that you have raised about minority rights, women's rights, democracy, the institutionalization of democracy, I think all those issues will remain very much on the agenda. And so long as India is part of that table, India has ways to influence that agenda. And I think one would hope that India, along with America and some of its other partners who view Afghanistan in the same light, can perhaps bring the discussion on an even keel as far as the Taliban's resurgence is concerned. So on both these issues, Quad and Afghanistan, we are going to see increasing cooperation between India and the US, despite some of the niggling differences that have been there in the past. I'm hopeful that this is going to see greater collaboration and greater cooperation in the years to come.
Right. Thank you, Ambassador Shankar, and thank you, Professor Pant, for having joined us. Well, moving on now, active cases of COVID-19 are continuing to decline in India. Less than 2 lakh daily new cases have been registered since the last 2 days. Daily recoveries continue to outnumber daily new cases for the 16th consecutive day, and recovery rate has increased further to 90.8%.
Concerted efforts by states and union government bear fruit. Less than 2 lakh daily new cases over last 2 days. Daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for 16th consecutive day. Daily positivity rate at 8.36%, less than 10% for 5 consecutive days. This, in a snapshot, is where India stands in its battle against the coronavirus pandemic. As part of continued decline in the daily new cases, the country has recorded less than 3 lakh daily new cases for 13 consecutive days now. 1,73,790 daily new cases were registered in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload has reduced to 22,28,724 on Saturday. A net decline of 1,14,428 is witnessed in the last 24 hours. The war against COVID-19 continues at the state level as well, and stringent steps taken are showing positive results. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a meeting with Team 9 through video conferencing and reviewed the COVID-19 situation in the state.
पॉजिटिव पेशेंट्स काफ़ी कम आ रहे हैं, तो शायद इसमें कुछ आंशिक कोरोना कर्फ्यू में कुछ ढिलाई भी हो सकता है और ढिलाई करके कुछ खोला जाएंगे.
In Madhya Pradesh too, corona infections continue declining and the situation is fast coming under control. The recovery rate in the state has increased to 95%, while the positivity rate has come down to 2.1%.
रोज आने वाले पॉजिटिव केसेस की संख्या लगातार घट रही है. कल लगभग 76,000 टेस्ट किए. 76,000 टेस्ट करने के बाद भी नए पॉजिटिव केवल 1640 आए.
The COVID pandemic has weakened in the capital, Delhi, as well. The number of daily cases has dipped below 1,000. 956 fresh cases have been reported in the last 24 hours, while 2,380 people have recovered. The positivity rate has come down to 1.19%, although 122 people have been reported as dead over the past 24 hours.
मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि जैसे जैसे केस कम होंगे हम और अनलॉकिंग करेंगे। हम तो चाहते हैं कि इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज वापस पटरी पे आए।
Meanwhile, Delhi government has invited global tender for the purchase of 10 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine. The last date for bidding is 7th of June. In the meantime, some states have announced the process of unlocking while lockdown is continuing in many states and union territories. The Goa government has decided to increase the curfew timing by 7 a.m. till 7th of June. The curfew in the state was ending on 31st of May. In the last 24 hours, 1,055 new cases have been reported in the state, while 32 people died due to COVID-19. At the same time, the Himachal Pradesh government has extended the COVID-19 restrictions in the state till 6 a.m. on the 7th of June, and decision on unlocking will be taken in the cabinet meeting on 5th of June. In Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha inaugurated 500-bed COVID-19 hospital set up by DRDO in Jammu. A 500-bed hospital will also come up in Kashmir soon.
इस हॉस्पिटल में 500 बेड हैं, जिसमें से 125 बेड आईसीयू के बेड हैं और बाकी फैसिलिटीज़ इस हॉस्पिटल में होंगी। डायग्नोस्टिक्स की फैसिलिटी होगी, एक्सरे की फैसिलिटी होगी। ये बहुत ही शॉर्ट पीरियड में डीआरडीओ ने इसको बनाया है।
On the other hand, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has announced a grant of 5 lakh rupees to the children who lost their parents due to COVID-19. When the child turns 18, the amount along with interest will be given to him. Talking about Karnataka, the state Chief Minister B.S. Yadurappa handed over 300 concentrators and high-flow machines to hospitals in Bengaluru. Sri Kshetra Dharmsthala Grambhi Vrudhi Yojana has donated these concentrator and high-flow machines. Yadurappa also held a virtual meeting with state legislators and MPs on COVID-19 situation across the state.
We have discussed in detail about 3 hours, and they have given very good suggestions, and also government also ready to accept their suggestions, and we are going to give sufficient medicine and other things what they are required, that we are going to fulfill it as early as possible.
In Bihar, there has been a significant decrease in COVID-19 cases. Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad visited Patna Medical College Hospital and took stock of COVID-19 management.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रयास से आज इतनी बड़ी संख्या में अमेरिका के बाद भारत वैक्सीन लगाने वाला सबसे बड़ा देश बन गया है और लगाएंगे। ये तो हम लोग का फर्ज बनता है और इसीलिए योजना बनी है और कि आने वाले अक्टूबर नवंबर तक देश में लगभग 200 करोड़ प्लस वैक्सीन उपलब्ध हो जाए।
Meanwhile, around 20 crore 90 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been given so far under the nationwide vaccination drive across the country. India is the second country after America to achieve the historic milestone of 20 crore shots. The centre has said that by the end of October, more than 200 crore vaccine doses will be available in the country. Drive-through vaccination is also going on in some states in which people are being vaccinated on their own vehicle. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal inaugurated the drive-through vaccination drive at Chhatrasal Stadium in Delhi. During this time, Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia was also present. Over 22 crore 77 lakh vaccines have been made available to the states and union territories so far. More than 1 crore 82 lakh vaccines are still available with states and union territories for shots. Additionally, more than 4 lakh vaccines are in the process of being shipped to states. Bureau Report, DD India.
In a major boost to the supply chain of medicines for COVID-19, the production of Remdesivir is ramped up 10 times from 33,000 vials per day on 11th April 2021 to 3,50,000 vials per day. The government has also increased the number of plants producing Remdesivir from 20 to 60 within a month. According to Union Minister Mansukh Mandavia, India has enough Remdesivir as the supply is much more than the demand. So the government has decided to discontinue the central allocation of Remdesivir to states. The National Pharmaceuticals Pricing Agency and CDS CEO have been directed to continuously monitor availability of the drug in the country. Government of India has also decided to procure 50 lakh vials of remdesivir to maintain it as a strategic stock for emergency requirement. The 148th NDA Passing Out Parade took place in Pune. The Passing Out Parade of the National Defence Academy marks an important step for the cadets as they receive the ranks on their shoulders, following which they officially become commissioned officers in the Indian Army.
A proud and much-awaited moment in the lives of cadets at the National Defence Academy and the Short Service Commission officers at the Army's Officers Training Academy in Chennai. Their passing out parade. The passing out parade for the 140th batch was held at the National Defence Academy in Pune. Nearly 300 candidates took part in the parade. Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Karambir Singh was the reviewing officer of the passing out parade. This is the third occasion when the prestigious passing out parade is being held under the shadow of COVID-19 pandemic. Every year, 2 batches of cadets pass out from India's premier Tri-Services Military Academy in Pune. While addressing the NDA graduates, Admiral Karambir Singh congratulated the candidates and encouraged them to begin their journeys in the service of the nation.
The Academy's credo of Seva Paramo Dharma has guided generations of officers in service of the nation. Remember, the Indian Armed Forces have a rich legacy where our personnel have proved their mettle time and again. As proud inheritors of such a great legacy, much is expected of you. You are the future of the services and the nation. From this point onwards, everything you have trained for will start to make sense to you. Because in the armed forces, you train as you fight, and you fight as you train.
Meanwhile, in Chennai, 198 Short Service Commission officers passed out of the portals of the Indian Army's Officers Training Academy. They included 167 gentlemen cadets and 31 women cadets who took part in an impressive parade at the Parameshwaran Square in the OTA. The parade was reviewed by Lieutenant General Y.K. Joshi, General Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Northern Command. Addressing the gathering, he reminded the graduating cadets that victory in war depended not on technology or numbers, but on the quality of leadership provided to the forces.
You will lead the best soldiers both in peace and war, and this responsibility will demand the last ounce of your energy and commitment. This profession of arms bestows upon you the onerous task of being the defenders of our country.
Major Vibhuti Shankar Dundyal, who made the supreme sacrifice at Pulwama in 2019, was posthumously awarded the Shaurya Chakra. His wife, Nitika Kaul, donned the Indian Army uniform after passing out of the OTA Chennai, paying him a befitting tribute. Lieutenant General Y.K. Joshi pipped the stars on her shoulders.
The day I stepped in, I imagined that and I felt that the same journey that he has traversed through, and I'm traveling through the same journey. So I believe he's always and always going to be part of my life, and even today he's somewhere around, looking at me, and I can feel that he's just holding me and saying, you just did it.
The day proved to be a proud moment on more than one count. The nation salutes those joining the Defence Forces and wishes them the best in their journey ahead. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now some more news from across the country in a national wrap.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people in the country and abroad in the Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio on Sunday at 11 a.m. It will be the 77th episode of the monthly radio program. It will be broadcast on the entire network of AIR and Doordarshan and also on AIR News website. May 30th marks the second anniversary of Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government. It also marks 7 years since the ruling BJP came into power at the centre. On this occasion, the party will provide maximum relief and help to the public in these tough times of coronavirus through the Seva Hi Sangathan program. Centre has invited applications for Indian citizenship from the people of minority community in Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh residing in India. These people are residing in 13 districts of Gujarat, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Haryana and Punjab. The death toll in Uttar Pradesh Aligarh Hooch tragedy has risen to 27 after people consumed poisonous liquor sold by a licensed vendor. Currently, more than 10 people are getting treated and their condition is reportedly critical. Local administration has ordered a magisterial probe into the incident and suspended 5 officials including district excise officers. 5 accused have been arrested in this case so far. Olympic medalist Sushil Kumar, arrested in a murder case, was sent to 4 days in a police custody. The wrestler was arrested last week for his alleged involvement in the death of a 23-year-old wrestler at Delhi's Chhatrasal Stadium. Saturday was the last day of his police remand. The CBI has recovered 3 crore rupees jewellery and a note-counting machine during searches following the arrest of 4 Food Corporation of India officials in a bribery case in Bhopal. The case pertains to the alleged demand of rupees 1.5 lakh in bribe to release pending bills of a company.
And the world continues to battle COVID-19 in an effort directed towards vaccine equity. France has in fact targeted delivering 30 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to Africa by the end of the year and vaccinating 40% of the African population by then. Meanwhile, in Britain, PM Boris Johnson cleared that he took full responsibility for the UK's response to COVID-19 and expressed remorse for the suffering during the pandemic.
As the world battles COVID-19 pandemic, France will strive alongside African nations to vaccinate 40% of the continent's population by the end of this year. French President Emmanuel Macron has said France will invest in boosting the production of COVID-19 vaccines in Africa to help close a gap in the availability of the shots between African and Western nations. France plans to deliver 30 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to Africa by the end of the year.
Parce que ça veut dire que l'épidémie peut continuer.
As long as we haven't vaccinated everywhere, we are exposed to a risk. So I want to set this goal in Africa to have 40% of the population vaccinated by year end, and in coordination with Africa to have 60% by mid-2022.
Tenir avec l'Afrique le 60% mi-2022.
In Britain, after Prime Minister Boris Johnson's former aide, Dominic Cummings, launched a blistering attack on the British state, saying that mistakes had led to unnecessary deaths, Prime Minister Johnson cleared that he took full responsibility for the UK's response to COVID-19 and he was truly sorry for the suffering during the pandemic.
I take full responsibility for everything that has happened, and I've said, as I've said before, and he will recall, both in this House and elsewhere, I am truly sorry for the suffering that the people of this country have experienced. But I maintain my point that the government acted throughout with the intention to save life and protect the NHS and in accordance with the best scientific advice.
As people rushed to vaccination centres in Australia, the Victoria state reported 5 new local COVID-19 cases on Saturday amid a strict lockdown. The infections bring the latest cluster to 35, but the number of exposure sites visited by the infected people has expanded to more than 150, putting thousands at risk. Meanwhile, Argentina is grappling with a surge in new COVID-19 cases. While bed capacity in hospitals has increased, health officials warn a lack of health workers will strain the country's capacity to treat critical COVID-19 patients. So far, only about 5% of the population has been fully inoculated. Bureau Report, DD India.
And with that, we come to the close of this edition of Newsnight. Do remember to keep your masks on, practice hand hygiene, ensure that there is social distancing between you and the others around. Keep wearing masks even inside homes if there are people around. Thanks for watching.